Let's look at example 2. We want to use the power rule and the product rule to find the derivative of f of x. Let's go back and write down the two rules. The power rule looks at term by term. It looks at a polynomial term by term. So the derivative with respect to x of, what letters did I use here? Of ax, actually, I'm going to use a color here. Let's let n be blue and a be brown, I think. Yes. So the derivative with respect to x, this says what the variable is going to be. If we have a times x to the n, x is the variable, n is the exponent, a is the coefficient. Then you take the exponent, you bring the exponent down, multiply it by the coefficient, and then reduce that exponent by 1. So for instance, if we had to find the derivative of 4x cubed, we would bring the 4 down, pardon me, we would bring the 3 down, multiply it by the 4, x, and then we would subtract 1 from the 3. Oh, okay, so that's just 12x squared. So the power rule, you bring the exponent down in front of the coefficient and then reduce the exponent by 1. Well, that's groovy. In order to use the power rule, though, we need to have all individual terms. Right now, we've got 2 factors, and that's great because we can practice multiplying. So we have x squared minus 3x minus 4 times x squared minus 1. Negative 4 times negative 1 is positive 4. Negative 1 times negative 3x is positive 3x. When you do multiplication with polynomials, it really helps to put in the signs even if they're positive. Negative 1 times x squared is negative x squared. And now I want to match up powers of x. So x squared times negative 4, that's negative 4x. That'll go in the x squared column. So negative 4x squared, and then negative 3x times x squared is negative 3x cubed, and x squared times x squared is x to the 4th. I didn't put a plus in the front of it because it's the farthest to the left term. And then we just add 4, 3x, negative 5x, negative 3x cubed. Oops, this is squared, and x to the 4th. Groovy. Now f of x is made up of 5 individual terms. Terms are separated by plus or minus signs. Terms are not separated by multiplication or division signs. Okay, so we've got this first term. I want to use the rule. I want to bring down the exponent. Oh, here the exponent is 4. Say the exponent is 4. Then we have x. The coefficient is 1, so I didn't write that in. And then the exponent, the new exponent will be 4 minus 1. This time we do have a coefficient. So let's see. We're going to bring down, I'm going to do this, and you'll see why in a sec. So I'm going to bring down that positive 3, multiply it by the coefficient, and then I have x raised to the 3 minus 1 is 2. So you can move the negative out, or you can leave the negative with the coefficient. It really doesn't matter as long as you have a method. So this is fine. It is also fine to say negative 3 times 3. It's still going to be the same answer. Alrighty, now we've got negative 5x squared. So our exponent is 2. The coefficient is negative 5. And we're going to reduce the exponent of x by 1. Sweet. What is the exponent if there's no exponent written? Isn't it 1? Oh, yeah, right. Great. So we've got plus 1. The coefficient is 3. And we're going to reduce the exponent by 1. And then finally, I'm going to remember that 4 times 1 is the same as 4, and x to the 0 is 1. X to the 0 equals 1 as long as x isn't 0. 0 to the 0 is not defined, but every other number raised to the 0 is 1. So I've got 4x to the 0, and that'll enable me to use the power rule. So our coefficient, let's see, our exponent, we're using Brown for exponents, is 0. The coefficient is 4. And then we have x to the negative 1. But what happens here? 0 times anything is always 0. So any term that has x to the 0 as its variable part will have a 0 derivative, which means that constants have a 0 derivative. Okay, well, let's keep going. So we have 4x cubed minus 9x squared minus 10x, because x to the 1 is just x. X to the 0 is 1. So here I've got 1 times 3 times 1, so just plus 3. I can describe this as f prime. It's 4x cubed minus 9x squared. Oh, I don't know what happened to my camera. There we go. So f prime is 4x cubed minus 9x squared minus 10x plus 3. If we have a polynomial function, and it has 5 terms. If one of the terms is a constant, then the derivative will have 4 terms, because the derivative of a constant is 0. Great. Now let's do the second part of this. Let's use the product rule. I'm not sure what happened to my camera. Hello, camera. Oh, it got, okay, I think I figured it out. Sweet. So we want to use the product rule to find the derivative of f. And the product rule says if f is the product of 2 functions, then f prime is the first function, the derivative of the first function times the second function, plus the derivative of the second function times the first. And the shorthand way to write this, I think, makes it easier to remember. So if f equals gh, then f prime equals g prime h plus h prime g. And this is only okay notation if we absolutely know that our underlying variable is x. Well, let's look at this particular example. We have f of x equals x squared minus 3x minus 4 times x squared minus 1. So let's let this first function be g of x, and the second function be h of x. It's necessary for the formula to know what g prime is. So let's see, g prime of x, I'm going to use the power rule to find g prime. So the first term, the exponent is 2, the coefficient is 1, x to the 2 minus 1. The next term has an exponent of 1, a coefficient of -3, and we're reducing the exponent by 1. And then we have a constant, and so the derivative of the constant term is 0. Well, let's make this prettier. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 minus 1 is 1, and x to the 1 is just x. 1 times -3 is -3, and 1 minus 1 is 0. X to the 0 is 1. So we have 2x minus 3 for g prime. For h prime, we've got an exponent of 2, a coefficient of 1, and then x to the 2 minus 1. And then the derivative of the 1 is 0. So let's just put plus 0. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. X to the 1 is just x. So h prime is 2x. G prime is 2x minus 3. G of x is x squared minus 3x minus 4. And h of x is x squared minus 1. We know that. Okay. F prime equals G prime H plus H prime G. G prime is 2x minus 3. H is x squared minus 1. H prime is 2x. And G is x squared minus 3x minus 4. This is really fun in general because you get to play with algebra some. So let's do this one. Instead of by long multiplication, let's just do distribution. So we have 2x times x squared. Well, that's 2x cubed. 2x times -1, that's -2x. -3 times x squared, -3x squared, and -3 times -1, which is +3. So that's the entire first part. And plus 2x times x squared is 2x cubed. 2x times -3x is -6x squared. And 2x times -4 is -8x. Now we just hunt and gather. We have a 2x cubed and another 2x cubed. That gives us 4x cubed. Negative, let's do the x squares next. -3x squared and a -6x squared. That's -9x squared. -2x and a -8x will give us -10x and then 3 plus 3. So we get 4x cubed minus 9x squared minus 10x minus 3. And if you look, that's exactly what we found before when we multiplied first and used the power rule second. We got 4x cubed minus 9x squared minus 10x plus 3. Sweet.